Hello and welcome back to ISCT TV 2025. We are very fortunate to be joined by two of this year's co-chairs. I'm going to have them introduce themselves and tell us a little bit about how they came to be on the planning committee and what their role is.
Hi, I'm Alice Bertaina from Stanford University, and this is my first year as a co-chair of the annual meeting of ISCT. It's been extremely exciting, and it is even more exciting to be here and to actually see the vibrant atmosphere that there is around.
Wonderful. Thank you for being here, and thank you for helping plan this amazing meeting.
And I'm Qasim Rafiq. This is my fourth year as the Roundtable co-chair, so I've had the honor and pleasure of working with my colleagues Dominique and Lisette to organize the Roundtable sessions for the last 4 years, and I think this is the year that is the most exciting, the most vibrant, and very much looking forward to it.
And what makes you say that this year is going to be the most vibrant and the most exciting?
I think it's because where the field is at the moment, and the types of discussions have evolved since we first initiated the Roundtable sessions back in the San Francisco meeting in 2022. But also, the reality of the global context of where things are, both geopolitically, but also with where the sector is headed. And then I think just the energy that we've seen. I mean, I having been here for the last now few hours, the 7 o'clock sessions in the morning were absolutely full. And I think that's indicative of the energy, the excitement, and I think where the field is headed.
Right. And how do you think, being on the other side of this now instead of just attending and planning now, how has this changed your perspective?
Well, first of all, we appreciate how much work it is, and how much really behind the scene thinking it comes from really the most expert leaders in the field of cell and gene therapy. But it's even more rewarding, and I would say that the perspective about the different sessions that maybe you haven't organized is quite interesting, because you not necessarily you expect to find a certain conversation at a round table.
Right.
I mean, this morning I attended 3 different roundtables, and it was absolutely delightful to be at all of them. And there were like a question that I wouldn't have thought about, and so it's always an opportunity to learn. So a different format from the plenary session or the concurrent session, and different goals, but all really, as Qasim said, in this like a momentum of the cell and gene therapy science, which is particularly exciting.
Absolutely. And what went into making this year, more unique than the last? How did you approach planning the program for this year? And I know there's a lot of patient access and looking at expanding CGT to the rest of the world. So how did you go about doing that, and what can we expect from that in the coming days?
So I think, commenting on the roundtable specifically, the way the process has worked, and it's always been a fantastic process, is we get the suggestions from the ISCT committees, and we get people to put kind of ideas forward of what they'd like to see. And what we really noticed with the suggestions this year were really kind of forward-looking. Where do we want to be? What are some of the challenges we're facing now? And just to give an example, the first roundtable session I attended this morning, it had panelists from Uganda, from Philippines, from Brazil, and from India.
Yeah.
And that for me was a sign of the fact that actually the field has definitely advanced. It's global.
Right.
And I love the fact that ISCT as a global society is truly globally representative.
Mm-hmm.
And that for me I thought was great to see, and that's something I think we're keen to see more of. And where are we headed? And we have an uncertain time ahead, both from a global context, but how can we as a society navigate that, work together, and deliver what patients need?
And how, something I heard at a roundtable this morning was ISCT's emphasis on education. And I know that goes into a lot of the content here at these meetings. So sort of what can we expect to see education-wise at this meeting this year?
I think that innovation is what really ISCT wants to educate most, and one thing that is a great uniqueness, I think, of this society and therefore of this meeting is that we have a session that really span between the preclinical studies to the manufacturing of the process, the very first in human clinical trials, and the more mature clinical trials. And so in this session, you can really learn every step of this journey. So I think that from an educational perspective, for a technician in a laboratory, a physician scientist, a regulatory person, having the possibility, the opportunity to see all these aspects in the same conference is amazing.
I fully agree.
Yeah, and I think just to echo that, I mean, there's no other conference or society meeting that I've seen that kicks off with a global regulatory summit, that kicks off with roundtables that start at 7 in the morning and that are completely full, and that spans such a variety of topics. Everything across the discovery, basic science, through to the preclinical, clinical pathways, and ultimately, manufacturing process development and quality. I mean, there's nothing that I've seen that encompasses that, and that's where I think, as a sector, we need to be thinking about it. It's not just about how do I pursue my science and deliver my Nature paper. It's how can we translate this, how can we push this forward, and how can we work with, for example, clinical colleagues and regulatory colleagues and industry to bring all of that together.
Right. Exactly, and I think you touched another important point, which I haven't mentioned, and it's really the coexistence of academia and industry. Often those are two realities that are thought to go against each other,
Absolutely.
which is not the case. They actually serve each other, and I think that see them walking together in these sessions is fascinating, and is a very educational moment.
Yeah.
Because for someone at the beginning of the career, it's important to have all the possibility in front and understanding how a clinical trial is run in academia versus in industry, or what are the possibility of spinning off a product that has been developed in academia to industry and so on. So another uniqueness, I would say.
I think that's such a salient point. I'm so glad you mentioned it, because you're absolutely right. Often academics think of industry as kind of the dark world, and they're purely to fund academic endeavors, and vice versa. Industry often think of academia as being too slow, non-innovative, and actually you couldn't be further from the truth from both perspectives. And to have the ISCT cultivate this opportunity for the two to come together, along with regulatory and with the clinicians, it's phenomenal to see. So I'm glad you mentioned that.
Absolutely. And I think that's part of what makes this such a welcoming place and why it's such a fun place to be, is because everyone is thrilled to be here to work with everybody else.
Yeah.
And so, sort of to close, and on that note, what are you most looking forward to at this meeting?
I'm looking forward to learn more, to be honest. I feel like, again, because there is such a variety of topics, I'm really looking forward to learn about something that is not strictly related to what I do every day, but to be exposed to something that can be inspiring. And so I'm more focused on stem cell and gene therapy, so I'm very excited about hearing more of what's going on in the regenerative tissue and the sciences innovation of that field. And of course I'm biased. I'm truly looking forward to the plenary on autoimmunity of the translation to clinic segment.
I think we all are. I think that's
Absolutely.
going to be an excellent session.
That's highlighted in my app. I mean, it's very much the same, but also I think learning from, now we've become a truly global society and a global sector, importantly. So I'm actually moderating a session tomorrow, which I think has been a long time in the planning, where we're learning from, for example, how India and how Spain have revolutionized CAR T manufacturing to make it lower cost. So being able to learn from not just perhaps North America or Europe, but also from global partners, how the field has evolved and how we can start to think about innovation in manufacturing. But I'm also very much excited. I mean, I'm a process development manufacturing person at heart, so those sessions are always near and dear, but actually learning from some of our clinical colleagues, learning about the excellent science and innovation. And for me, the potential future of in vivo gene therapy, in vivo CAR T, mRNA, I think all of that's still to come. Very excited.
Absolutely. Well, thank you both so much again for your efforts in planning this wonderful meeting, for being here with us on ISCT TV. It's really been a pleasure to talk to you.
Pleasure.
Thank you.
The pleasure's all ours. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And thank you everyone for watching. We'll see you in our next segment.